What's up, guys? Welcome and thank you for being here with us on PS Best Friends Party Chat Episode 2. As always, we are a PlayStation podcast by the community for the community. Come to you each and every Tuesday with an new episode filled with greatness beyond the ordinary. I'm your host, Anthony Palm, and we've got a great show for you today. So again, this is Party Chat. This is going to be a bonus episode. We're going to be doing 2 of these a month, aiming for. And today we have the partner podcast, Triangle Squared. So we have. Let's just get right into it, because this is kind of we're just kind of gonna go with it today. Kind of free balling. We got a little bit of an outline that Jeffrey made.
Lots of free balls. We're still here. Me and Miguel still here, but round of applause for Brett and Saul, co-host of Triangle Squared.
Thank you, guys.
Woo, yeah, clapping.
That's fancy. I like that.
Yeah, that's a new soundbite I just got, actually, straight off of the.
I could have just added that to the
I'm sure you can.
to the soundboard.
It's more impressive in real time. Really gives you the illusion, the sense of being there.
So, again, I'm Anthony. We got Miguel, Jeffrey. How are you guys doing? Been kind of talking to you for a little bit now, trying to get you guys to get on a podcast with us. So, finally made it happen.
Finally worked out.
Yeah, we're doing great, man. We actually just recorded our 20th episode yesterday of our podcast, Triangle Squared.
Nice.
It was awesome. Going to be doing this for 20 weeks.
So
interesting.
So for listeners to PS Best Friends, give us the pitch for Triangle Squared.
Okay, the spiel for Triangle Squared is really to be community-based, much kind of like you guys, actually. It's an informative podcast where it's just me and Saul dishing out on our opinions on topics that we either create ourselves or that the community brings to us. We make sure that we go over all the general news that everybody would want to kind of go over, what games are coming out, what news is exciting to us. Sometimes we leave out news that doesn't necessarily work with us or the community. We kind of just pick and choose and do what we need to. And then, like I said, we just go into a main topic, and that's how we end the show. We normally end the show on the main topic and try and dish out on it for, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes longer, depending on how talkative we get. So would you agree, Saul?
I agree. That's a pretty good summary of pretty much everything we do.
So I guess let's just jump right into it. So what was your what got you started? What's the quick history on Triangle Squared?
Okay, so this goes back about let's see, my daughter's 2, so right about 3 years, maybe 2.5 years. Whenever, so I guess 2015, 2014, we were coming together. It was me, Saul, and one of my other buddies, Blaze, who has showed up on a couple episodes of Party Plays, which is another series we do. And we were talking about kind of doing
Blade or Blaze?
Oh, Blaze, Blaze. Yeah,
Blaze. Okay.
That's his real name. Yeah, so it's
his
good.
legal name.
Yeah, legal name. Not.
That's awesome.
He just has odd parents.
That is kind of
Yeah, we were sitting down.
Do you guys make the dodgeball
Exactly.
jokes?
All the time. That, and we call him Blaziken. He's not as fond of that one, but
that's a good one too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's funny. That has a reverse naming of it's because when I was a kid, I named it my Blaziken or my Torchic Jeffrey, because I thought it was still asking for my name. I wasn't quite sure what was going on in that.
Oh my god, I forgot how much younger you are. Me too.
A lot of words and letters and stuff. So I'm like, oh, my name again. I got this. So my trainer's name was Jeffrey, and my Blaziken was Jeffrey.
Nice. Yeah, Jeffrey and Jeffrey. It's like a sitcom for Pokemon.
I think it was Jeff. I think my Blaziken was Jeff, actually.
So yeah,
2.5 Jeffreys.
But yeah, so
and then guess what my Groudon was called when I caught him?
Oh, what? Oh, you're Groudon? Let's see.
My Groudon was then called. Take a guess.
Blaziken.
He's another red guy. That'd be funny if I still remembered what the Pokemon's name was. I just called him Big Jeff.
Big Jeff. Nice.
So,
Big Jeff.
Nice.
Big Jeff. So the trainer was Jeffrey, the starter was Jeff, and the legendary was Big Jeff. My Pokemon Ruby.
Nice.
Great game.
Jeff, and Jeffrey. That's an even more weird sitcom, but we'll take it. Yeah, so a couple years back we actually sat down and we're going to kind of figure this out. But I just moved into the house that we're in currently. We were trying to figure out a way to do the room, and then my wife, she was pregnant. And it ended up coming down to, we didn't realize how hard it was going to be for me to be a parent and try and pull this stuff together. So we actually got the foundation laid out. And if you ever check on I think you can check on YouTube when a channel was created. We actually created it that year. And right before we kind of got everything ready to go, we had the daughter, and there was a little bit of complications first few weeks. And then just being a parent's a little harder than you expect. So that ended up kind of pushing us back. Now the pull that really got us to come back into it was just a lot of timing. I made this game room / studio last November and continued to kind of get it set up to a point where we could do whatever we wanted to in it. And me and Saul started talking about the idea again and throwing it around early this year. And then, funnily enough, actually, when excuse me, I had to burp. Whenever P.S. I Love You,
P.S. I Love You.
we were kind of like, you know what? You know, there's going to be a void here. And it ended up so abruptly that it was kind of like, you know, realistically, I don't know. And it goes to show there's plenty of PlayStation podcasts out there, but it goes to show you the kind of influence those guys have had on people, because it pulled us back into wanting to do it again. We were actually wanting to do it before P.S. I Love You even existed. Is what's funny, just because of Podcast Beyond, and then we ended up coming back around to it in the long run. So, of course, I miss P.S. I Love You, and I mean, I wish those guys the best. You know, Colin and Greg, great. But it's nice to be doing this, and we also kind of had the inkling to wanting to have. You know, we've done a lot of stuff, and I'm a pretty communicative person. I'm very social in my own ways. So I like the idea of having a community that we could bounce stuff around off of, and I feel like we know enough about PlayStation. I've really drenched myself in the culture that we could have a podcast that would have, you know, smart opinions that were really, we were versed in the knowledge of what we were talking about. So that was the thing for me. Saul, what would you say kind of made you, because I mean, we've talked about it, but what brought you back to wanting to do it?
Pretty much just everything we've been kind of going through. The timing was right. The inspiration was there. And I think we talked about this. I don't know if we ever said it on our podcast, but when we found out Colin Moriarty had left, kind of funny, it felt like someone close to me had died. It was like a punch in the gut. And it was just a very kind of polarizing moment for us to be like, well, you know, we see how the community cares that much about this, and we want a community that we can give back to that would care the same way for us in a way, and kind of make a good community and have fun with people to be able to play games and kind of surround ourselves with people who have interests like we do. So it was pretty much that one moment that pushed it over the edge, but it had been a really fun running idea for nearly 3 years now.
Yeah, funny. That story sounds very familiar. You know,
Is that similar to y'all's?
Real familiar.
Yeah, I mean, it's me specifically. So, aside from the fact that I don't have a child, but I kind of, about a year and a half before we started the podcast with PS Best Friends, I kind of geared up and did the same thing where, like, I got a bunch of gear. You know, I had a green screen that I still don't use. But like I got the mic set up. I got the iMac with all the software. I mean, like I was ready to do a podcast, and I just didn't have anyone to do it with. And I had a bunch of like local friends that I would like try to force to do it with me, and just none of them were interested in it. And then I kind of thought maybe doing the Twitch thing, and that didn't really work out. And then
that's a key thing, by the way, finding someone else, because like you could go back on my YouTube channel and see, like, I've tried doing like emulating Game Grumps, but like doing it with my brothers on the couch. That didn't work because I was like forcing them too much into it. Then I tried doing a similar thing with a friend in real life, like you guys, but he wasn't really into it as much. But like, you know, once you actually finally get a group of people, it's
yeah, we got really lucky. Like it kind of just all came together in like a day and a half with us too, because it was us three. So it was me, Jeffrey, and Miguel, and then there was another guy,
Omar de Gala.
yeah, Omar, that he was like down for it, and then he just kind of disappeared. So we're like, okay, yeah, like
well, even before that,
we'd love to hear from him. I just haven't heard from him.
Miguel was kind of the one who spearheaded the whole idea of the
so
like since like the right Miguel since the last episode of Yes I Love You, you were making those posts. Explain what those posts are.
So when they stopped doing when Colin left, I don't know if you guys noticed, like a week after, I started doing a post on Facebook, on the Facebook group.
Are you guys
Actually,
in the
no,
Facebook
I'm not
group?
big on Facebook. I'm surprisingly,
Facebook group.
I don't have a Facebook.
yes, Saul doesn't even have a Twitter.
No,
We're very odd. I have a personal Twitter, but I didn't use it much. We didn't even get into social media.
Okay, so you guys wouldn't have been aware of
Exactly.
Miguel's post then.
Yeah. So I started doing that kind of format of
Oh, okay. I think I remember what you're talking about. They were talking about it on the
just
morning
written.
show at some point, or maybe it was during a podcast. So they were talking about the Facebook
Yeah.
group was basically
Yeah, it was.
doing it. Yeah.
It was during the morning show. Yeah, so I was doing that, and I did it the first couple of weeks, and then I asked like, "Hey, you guys would like me to pour more questions and topics and stuff like that?" So they said yeah. So I started doing it more, and then I think Jeffrey commented like, "Hey, you should do it into a podcast." And I was like, I don't know. And then a week after, I did another post, and he's like, "Hey, I think we should do a podcast." And I'm like, "Oh, let me ask one of the guys if it's okay if we start something similar to it." And I think I tweeted or asked Greg or Nick
Yeah, I
or
do
someone
remember
at
that. Yeah.
the morning show, and they said like, "Oh yeah, just go for it. It's all good, man."
Yeah, but
And
they yelled at you about the name though, because originally we
oh
were
yeah,
gonna go with
that's
PS
after.
We Love
That's
You.
after.
XOXO. Oh, that was after? I thought that
Yeah,
was
that's
like right
after.
around the
I
same.
asked when Jeffrey was telling me, and then I think you started saying too, like, "Hey, yeah, just let's do it, let's do it." And I think Omar is when he was part of the team, but then he just disappeared. And then yeah, we just started and we started talking, and we wanted to name the podcast PS We Love You, XOXO, right?
And then Nick was like, "Well, fucking."
Oh, and I tipped them in the morning. I'm like, "Hey, is it cool if we use this?" And Nick was like, "Well, if you're ready to get sued, go for it."
Yeah, I definitely
And I
remember
was like,
that.
"Oh shit, I guess not then." And I guess they had a plan
Exactly.
already. They were gonna use it. I guess like a couple days later, they used it for something for the community.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a one-off
Oh, that's
thing.
cool.
Honestly, though, it was kind of for the better in the sense
Oh yeah,
that, like,
yeah.
we kind of, because at first it was like it was just this like small thinking, like a spiritual successor, but like, oh, why don't we actually make more of like make it a bigger brand and stuff, and then having its own name really is.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to slowly evolve it into like its own thing. Where like we're changing the names of all the segments, even if they're kind of similar to the previous segments. We're trying to add new stuff. But yeah, so I mean, it really sounds like our podcasts are kind of
Even the
born
timing
from a
is
similar.
very, very similar. Like when
Yeah,
we started
especially.
talking about it, like that Friday, and the next, I think Saturday, we
Well,
were
yeah,
filming the first
actually,
episode.
we talked about it. Like, hey, are we back to the point where we kind of want to do this? And it was the same thing where you were talking about. Like, you really have to have someone who's equally as passionate coming into it, because if they don't, then they're just going to fall out. And one of the biggest things I think is that when you do, like, y'all talked about it not working from an aspect of trying to do it with people who weren't necessarily passionate about it, but also you end up changing around. It's like, okay, well, now it's my brothers, now it's random friends. It's like you need a consistency. People really like the idea of at least hearing two people consistently with the, telling their ideas, because they get used to that. And I like, the idea that they used to use, like the third rotating chair and stuff like that. That works as long as you have two, relatively two constants as much as possible. So I mean, and that's why it's really important to us. There's only been one episode where Saul was just couldn't come in. And I had Blaze come in and actually kind of sub in on that episode, but I think it still worked because one of us was here. So yeah, we had the same thing. We just one weekend we were like, hey, we're going to do it, and literally the next weekend we went out and got camera. Already had a microphone. We were using my SM7B. I only had one, and they're very expensive, so we didn't go that route in the long run. We ended up buying two separate mics.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up doing that, and within we had our first test episode to make sure everything worked, because we were going to do video and audio from the get go, and went ahead and got everything going. So.
We should release that. We should release that one day.
Yeah, we're still.
I wish we still had our first test episode. Me and Miguel just fucking.
Oh, you lost it.
I have the first one with me on it.
Yeah.
That's still floating around. That was PS We Love You episode 1.
Yeah, there's
It's
an
somewhere on my
negative
hard drive.
one. But what was I gonna say? Yeah. So our 3-person format's more of the even dating farther back to like a Beyond with Clements or something as the third man. And then also thing I wanted to touch on how you're saying like a lot about PlayStation. I always thought that as well, and until Colin said when people kept on correcting him, he's like, "All right, let me sit you down and tell you what you like all the shit you don't know," and it really hit me. It's like even all the shit I do know about PlayStation, there's still like such a
There's an exponential amount that you don't.
yeah, exactly.
You know what you know, and that's it.
Yeah, so I don't even
That's
think
why I think that us three really work off each other well, and it seems like you guys do too. Because like I'm the guy that's into like Kingdom Hearts and all that, like
Fucking
nerd
nerd.
shit. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And
I
then
don't think
Miguel's
there's
the guy
I don't think there's enough PlayStation podcast hosts in the world to encompass
Oh, no.
all PlayStation knowledge, So it's like pretty much, it's like you really like wherever you go, you're definitely gonna find a different perspective.
Yeah,
So.
no, that's a good point too.
So that's a little background. Let's get into some questions we have prepared on an elegant Google.
Do you have like a little
Sheet.
do 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 song? I'd love that.
So pretty
Do
much.
very elegant music.
Watch out, Daft
So
Punk.
pretty much
I
the
just
most.
have the, I
The
just have
next
the
big
stuff
thing
on
in
the
techno
mobile.
is here.
We have a couple. Did you ever download the PlayStation trophy soundbite I was talking about, or
No, I can look for it right now.
don't look for it now. Look for it after. Yeah.
Why did you ask then?
Well, I don't need. We need it now.
Why? It's not even going to affect anything.
Put it on the back burner. Put it on the back burner. That was a live thought right off the gate. All right. So pretty much basic question asked everywhere. How'd you get into PlayStation? What was your, or how'd you get into gaming? I guess, and then what was
So you
your
want to
first
take this one
PlayStation
first? You
game?
want me to?
How'd you get into PlayStation?
I can take it first since it's gonna be relatively quick. I first got into gaming when my mom would always go to grocery shopping at like 3 a.m., which is weird, I know, but my older brother would wake me up and he'd take me in the living room and we'd play Super Nintendo. I'm 26, and that was the first console we ever had that I could actually remember. And we would play A Link to the Past, or we play Super Mario All Stars, and that pretty much started it right there. We didn't have tons of money growing up, so I stuck with the Super Nintendo until I was 8 and got the Nintendo 64. But my first PlayStation game, ooh, we've talked about this too, and it's now kind of convoluted in my mind. But I would have to say that the first one, at
What was
least,
the first console?
Super Nintendo. PS1 was my first PlayStation.
No, what was the first PlayStation console?
Technically PlayStation 2, actually. PlayStation 2 came first, and then we went through and got a used PlayStation 1 from Game Exchange. So it's kind of weird here because when I was kids, we could.
Oh, you guys got Game Exchange too. I
Yeah.
say that all the time, and they don't even know what the store is. That's rad.
Isn't that some Canadian GameStop?
No, it's
Oh,
just like a local trade store.
I'll say we live in Arkansas.
It's
which
like
is-
used games.
But
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut, so
oh yeah, so that is weird. I always thought they were somewhat southern local to an extent, but
I think they're actually based out of Arizona because I had to call their corporate office because they sold me a bootleg copy of a game once, and I got real. mad.
oh yeah, that's not good.
So,
I think your first game was actually Final Fantasy X, right?
Yeah. It would, for my actual first played PlayStation game, was Final Fantasy X, but the one that stuck with me that made me love like the PlayStation as a, as like a company and as a console lifestyle almost was Kingdom Hearts 2. Because once again, that's one of those weird things where I played 2 before 1.
yeah, I bet you were real confused.
Oh yeah. But I was probably around 13 or 14, I think.
Yeah,
that
because
sounds
Kingdom
about
Hearts
right,
2
maybe
was
15.
what, 2005.
So all I cared about was the cool combat. Yeah. So I was 15.
Yeah, I mean the Kingdom Hearts 2 is the pinnacle of like non-turn-based RPG combat for me, to be honest.
Yeah, it was like the cool mix of like really cool characters and then the combat. So it's kind of like Devil May Cry, just edgy characters and combat is all I cared about back then. But that's what actually like stuck with me because I remember the music and I remember going through like just everything in that, even the Little Mermaid level, we joke about, but I still like it as a level.
All right. Quick question.
But
What do you guys think about the new
oh wait, go ahead. I'm sorry.
the new Kingdom Hearts?
Oh, Kingdom Hearts 3.
What do you guys think about the new Kingdom Hearts that they showing demos?
Yeah, when they
yeah, I
showed
guess
the,
that's
the
what it's
yeah,
called.
You
yeah,
guess
yeah,
that's what
when
it's
they
called.
showed the Toy Story
No,
one.
I don't play them.
It's- It is 100% Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, I mean, every time it's like 2 point something, and
No, this
Yeah,
one is
luckily,
this one
we're-
is a
this
solid
is the
3.
end of the Darkseeker saga.
what
So
do you guys think?
this is
about
one of those things where y'all are lucky enough to where y'all have one Kingdom Hearts guy. We're both Kingdom Hearts people, and I don't know. I don't think I'm wrong in saying
Yeah.
you could definitely, if you feel like you have the edge, Saul, you tell me. But I think I would say I'm probably more Kingdom Hearts than you, just a little bit.
I could see that because you can stand playing through them more without getting like series fatigue. I'll get series fatigue on those games just because I played through them a lot. It seems that that you just can play the games anytime
Oh, yeah.
and not
I mean, I
get
love
tired
them.
of them. I will get tired of them without rotating.
Yeah, see, I'm the same way. I can jump into those. Like if I had like an entire week off where I didn't have to do anything at all, I
In your
could
boxers
easily
and
just
that's it?
run through. What?
Just in your boxers and that's it.
Yeah.
Nice cold
Well,
one.
now that they have the collection,
2.8 or 0.2.
0.8. What is it?
Yeah, Birth by Sleep 0.2. Yeah.
No, 0.2 of Fragmentary
Yeah.
Passage, right? Now that I've beaten that, I
Really?
never need to
I
go
thought
back to
0.2
that. Like
was
that
awesome.
that's the one. I'm like, I don't need to do
Yeah.
that again. And Dream
Yeah.
Drop,
Thing is,
I'm all set on that one.
The inside the castle part on that one was heat.
Love the whole game.
tried
It was
'em.
cool, but it was like I don't need to
Stoked
replay
me
it. though.
even more. It stoked me
Yeah,
even
the one where you have to
more
keep going through
Yep.
the mirrors, that was kind of
Yep.
annoying.
See, so you can kind of see his
Yeah,
way.
I
He's a little
think-
bit more Kingdom Hearts than I am, but
I think those games are all nostalgia, man. I picked up for the first time the 1.5, 2.5 PS4, rented it on GameFly, and one and just sucks asshole. Like it's
Yeah, I don't
terrible.
think so. I still think it's fine.
The
2 is
combat-
clearly the superior game as a just a game.
I don't see how
But
a
I think
human
one
could
is still good.
justify. I don't see how you could defend the Trickmaster boss fight. I think that was one of the most
What, you mean Kingdom
poorly
Hearts 1
designed
now?
things in a game that people tell me is good ever.
Which one was that? Was that the
No, dude, I love that.
One in
boss fight.
Allison
don't get me wrong,
Wonderland,
it's
and he's
not
that
even-
was not bad at all. Are you
but
kidding
you
me?
have to-
it's me.
it's hard.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my god!
I'm gonna go jump on their PlayStation podcast.
I think it's not hard. It's broken. It's a broken.
See, I think that
boss
whole
fight.
world was
I
ridiculously
disagree.
hard.
Actually, I thought, yeah, when I
It was
first
hard when I was
first played the
younger.
game-
Now I can run through it in like 10 minutes.
that may
but
be-
when I was younger. Yeah, I remember having trouble with it.
Yeah,
There was
yeah,
that one jump you had to get on top of the trees.
Yep.
That used to break my balls.
Well, I always thought the Tarzan world was actually a little more
Yes.
confusing because it's always like, where the hell do I go?
Yep.
When I was young, that's where I got stuck the very first time I ever played the game. When I was like,
Dude,
8,
me too.
9, something like
Literally
that.
me too. That's crazy. And the
We,
stealth
we
speed was
rented it from
such a pain in
Blockbuster,
the
and
ass.
I was like, I don't know where the hell I am. I got super confused when because the part of that world that's actually the most confusing is where you go across Hippo's Lagoon and you go up and you're like, well, there's nowhere to go from here. And then it turns out that you didn't even have to go across the hippos. You just go up the vines and the tree as soon as
Yeah,
you
going
enter
across the
area.
hippo just got you a chest, right?
Exactly. So it was a weird situation, but I mean, I love Kingdom Hearts. I'm one of the weird people that actually thinks that Kingdom Hearts 1 is actually better than Kingdom Hearts 2. I think from a
the
story
story,
structure,
yeah.
it's more focused. And I even think that the game is actually harder because it doesn't rely. It's more fun to play from a challenge concept perspective because the second game overly used the what are they called
Oh,
the reaction commands. I didn't think that they're really that awesome. It's like they were cool the first couple times, but then whenever you have a whole boss fight that's kind of based around that, so like, oh, well, you can't actually dodge. The only way to dodge is just to constantly hit triangle.
Now you're talking about the Zemnis fight at the end of 2?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff like that, but exactly.
Well, especially that fight though. But yeah, I actually tend to
and
agree.
even
'cause
even the first one.
Kingdom Hearts 2 as a game, like gameplay wise, was as perfect as a Kingdom Hearts game can get, to me personally. But yeah, I agree. I actually prefer Kingdom Hearts 1's story a little bit more. It was a little bit less convoluted, still convoluted, but not like to the extent that 2 was. 2, it was throwing so many different elements from like Chain of Memories in there, which I love Chain of Memories. I played it
I actually think Chain of Memories
like
is
on
better than
GBA
one.
originally.
Yeah,
Really?
I played that on.
Now, did you play it on GBA or did you play the,
On
the
GBA.
remastered on PS2? Or like
I
the-
played both,
Okay.
but interesting.
'Cause I still haven't played the remastered one with all the cutscenes and stuff. So
Oh, wow,
I gotta get
really?
around to
You
it. I just
really-
haven't gotten around to it because I've beaten it on before, so that's kind of why I just never got around to it. But
Well, yeah, I beat it on Game Boy Advance back when it first came out, but I did the same thing.
Moving on. So yeah, Brett. So what was your first? What was your first game? First PlayStation game? And if it's Kingdom Hearts, just don't answer it.
gotta spoil my goddamn Kingdom Hearts fun for once in my life.
It's okay. We can have
Finally,
this
we finally
conversation
something.
separately. Yeah, don't worry about it, Anthony. We'll do this. We'll have this conversation. We'll have you on an episode for us, and we can just
Yeah,
Dude,
we'll
I'm
talk
down.
about
Kingdom Hearts.
I'm down.
Yeah, so my first console was actually a Sega Genesis. I was really poor growing up, so it was just whatever system my dad had, it would hand down to us. So of course in 95, my dad kind of handled it to where he got the PlayStation, or 96, I guess, actually, because he got it a little bit after launch. It was when Crash Bandicoot came out. He got the PlayStation, so he handed us down the Sega Genesis and a game called Booger Man and a game called Chuck Rock 2. So great games. I'm a real big fan of Booger Man, surprisingly enough. I think the game is awesome, and whenever they were going to remake it, I was excited. But yeah, moving on from that, my first PlayStation game actually ended up being Crash Bandicoot 1. because my dad, of course, had it, and I watched him beat it in one day. And then, of course, after he finally beat it, he would, as long as he was watching me, he would let me play it as well. And that was my first love, and that's why I was definitely stoked when the Insane Trilogy ended up coming out. But past that, it ended up being, my second PlayStation game, I want to say, was, weirdly enough, because we were so poor, it was just like hand-me-down games. I want to say it was a game called like oh man, I know
See,
it.
we've
but I
talked about
can't
it before
think
on
of the
like our
word.
first or second episode. It's
Yeah,
like me, I
we
blanked.
did.
Like I couldn't remember what game I played either.
Yeah, I don't know. It was something weird. And then, but I would say one of the biggest PS1 games outside of Crash that I really loved is actually two of them. It's Legend of the Dragoon, which some people say is a bad
Great
game,
game.
but I think it was a great game. And then there's also Chrono Trigger, or Chrono Cross, actually. So,
Chrono Trigger's the
and then
sequel.
moving on, of course, some of my early PS2 ones was like Maximo, Ghost of Glory, NASCAR games, because my dad's a huge NASCAR nut. So yeah, moving on from that, I mean, I've had every PlayStation, PSP, all that. So I mean, but yeah, I've loved PlayStation ever since Crash Bandicoot. So I mean, pretty early on.
And so you guys, did you both platinum the games, or who was the one that was? I remember seeing you guys' Twitter feed. I just don't remember. I saw one of you platinum 2 out of the
You're
3
talking
in the Insane Trilogy, right?
Yeah, you're talking about yeah. I've actually got all
Yeah.
three platinums. All the
Okay, word.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age came out, and I kind of threw that down.
That's yeah. See, I
You're playing that?
I
Nice.
bought that. I made a big deal about it on the podcast. I got it.
Played
And
it one night,
then-
and that was it.
I've been jumping into it little by little, but it's like Persona 5 where I just don't have like I need to sit down and play that game. Whereas like Wildlands, it's like I can do like 3 missions and feel content. Or like Rainbow Six, I can play with Miguel and we
Yeah.
can get some matches done and I feel content. With Final Fantasy and Persona, it's like if I don't put 4 hours into it at a time, I feel
Huge
like I'm
time
wasting my
sinks.
time.
Yeah. I
have
understand. That's
that
why I haven't
same,
jumped on there first.
Yeah, I have the same feel with Danganronpa also. That's why I'm kind of slow on it this summer. But moving on from that question, toughest question a man could be asked. Favorite PlayStation
Oh.
game?
We're doing game or franchise?
Does this span
Either or. Either or.
all
Either
of
or, either or.
PlayStation's life? Like every system encompassing PlayStation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All the way back to the PlayStation. Yes.
yeah,
And you can do
Bloodborne.
PSP and Vita as well, of course. Too.
you have to.
No shit.
Bloodborne. All right.
Yeah, I
Got
think
a lot.
Bloodborne
Okay,
is
wait.
my favorite game of this entire generation
why?
so far.
No, of ever. Let's say
Yeah, I was gonna say
of all PlayStation.
Yeah. Like, like it's all a PlayStation, and it's beat out every other game this generation from other systems as well. So like the Switch and
Wow.
Xbox One and other things that I've played, it's my favorite out of all those other games.
Why is that?
There is, I mean, I guess I could technically spoil it now. I hate to do it though. There's a turning point.
Yeah,
Okay, well, if you haven't played Bloodborne now, it's like 2 years old, 3 years old. But there, after you beat Rom, the vacuous spider, you enter back into the world, and it gives you enough
I
insight.
haven't gotten to them yet, but you can go ahead and spoil it.
Do what? Did somebody say don't spoil it?
Oh no! I said I'm not at ROM yet, but you.
Oh
can.
well, and see, this isn't like a story spoiler or anything. It's more like a visual spoiler, but it's still something that kind of haunts me to this day in a way. But you earn enough insight in the game to actually see the world for what it actually is. So whenever you beat Rom and you're sent back into Yharnam, you actually like the whole entire city looks different. There's a blood moon now instead of like the regular moon. And there are these massive HP Lovecraft style creatures that are hanging around on the buildings and stuff that have been there the entire time, but you didn't have enough insight to see them. And it was something that was kind of nerve wracking in a way, is that it was almost just something that's it's always there and you just weren't smart enough, or you didn't see the world for what it was to see it. That and the gameplay was real fun.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's kind of rad because Bloodborne. When I think of that game, I enjoy Bloodborne a lot, and we've actually talked to one of our guests in the past about it, and
Kevin,
it's a
right?
game I want to get through. Yeah, Kevin Garaventa, and I want to get through it so bad, and I just keep running into a fucking brick wall with it, and then I keep giving it up, and then I keep getting like excited and confident, and then I pick it up again, and then I get a little farther, and then I run into a brick wall again. So, but it's interesting that you say your favorite PlayStation game on the whole is Bloodborne when it's almost kind of a spin-off on another franchise that is not exclusive to
Right.
PlayStation.
Well,
Which
if
is the
you really
problem.
want to go
Not a
off, I mean, yeah, the
Which-
franchise
which
is
the-
not, but I consider
Well,
it
with
more
like
of a
Dark
spin-off
Souls
of
and
Demon
Demon's
Souls.
Well, the franchise is a spin-off that's not PlayStation exclusive is actually a franchise that's a spin-off of a game that is
Right.
PlayStation exclusive.
Exactly.
Fair
It-
enough. Okay,
But see,
that's fair enough.
In the end, Bloodborne is like one of the most PlayStation
if I was to
games.
limit myself though, of like if I was to exclude Bloodborne, just kind of like a second runner up, it would probably be Devil May Cry 3 or Final Fantasy 12. That'd be kind of tied between those two and Final Fantasy 10. So a three-way tie. I'm gonna be convoluted about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm too
Indecisive.
indecisive. Yeah, I'm too indecisive.
What about yourself?
Okay. So mine's a little weird because you're going to end up saying a similar thing where it's like of all the PlayStation games, it's going to be it's really odd. For the longest time, it actually was Nier, but now that they've come out with Nier Automata, that's actually dethroned it. I think Nier Automata is a great game. Yoko Taro is such a really interesting developer, and every one of his games that he directs have such odd, way stand out ideas behind them that they grasp you in such a different way because they try and use, and something I felt actually was similar to The Last of Us. It uses the imperfectness of the characters and like it looks and goes, what are the worst people that you think that you couldn't make an interesting story out of, and how do you make an interesting story out of those people? Because even the early Drakengard games are actually about like people who were incestual. Some of them are like child molesters and stuff like that. The game's super weird, but somehow or another it makes you care about what's going on in that world throughout the characters. And then you see a similar thing with Nier. You see Kaine, who is, foul-mouthed and really crazy and kind of a social outcast. And you see Emil, who is a kid who's never really experienced normal life. And then you see this dad who's basically fighting to get his daughter back, and she has a sickness. So it's pretty interesting, but that's what I love that game so much. And then Nier Automata came up and kind of did the similar situation of taking weird characters, in this case androids, and trying to make you feel for androids who the entire game try and make you think that they are not allowed to feel, but then they constantly do things that contradict that. So those are great. If I had to go outside of that and try and say PlayStation exclusive, and it doesn't necessarily mean that PlayStation made it, but I do really love...
Isn't your PlayStation exclusive?
Nier
think
Automata
the PC
is
too.
on PC, but if you want to case
Yeah,
console-wise, it's... But the original
all right.
was on 360 as well, because that was during the 360 era push to get JRPGs onto the 360.
All I know about the original Nier is that video Justin McElroy posted about how shitty it was when he was doing that fishing mission, and
Yeah, the
that.
fishing in both games are fucking crazy, and you've got to do it to get.
And I remember when they announced the sequel, and I'm like, to the fishing game that Justin hated. That's weird.
Yeah, actually, I'd say I really hope, and they've talked about it. They've kind of hinted that there's a chance, definitely, because I don't know if y'all know, but Nier Automata has been a sales juggernaut, and that's funny because it's a
Yeah.
sequel to a game that extremely underperformed and closed down the studio.
Dude, word of mouth could make or break a game, honestly.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is that the Nier, the original Nier actually became a cult classic long after it was released. It released to pretty mediocre reviews and sales, and then the studio Cavia that they closed down, and then the game started picking up steam. It still never sold a whole lot, but it's such a great game and it's so interesting. So if they end up doing the remake they've hinted at in the same engine and style as Nier Automata, I would definitely say jump into it. It's got a very interesting story. But outside of that, it's an actual just full on PlayStation exclusive for the time being. I really loved Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core.
Yes.
Is that the PSP one?
Yes, it was. And it pisses me off daily that I can't play it on
Crisis Core so
Vita and I can't play it on PS3 or PS4. I just want them to take it.
Wasn't there?
They don't need to do anything. They
Wasn't
just
there
need to port it.
licensing issues with
Well, the game came out before Sony's push to make all PSP games digital, so it just never ended up going on the store. But I want to say there was something with licensing that kept it from it.
There was like an outro track,
Something like that, because
they couldn't get the
ran into
licensing for it, so
licensing
just
issues.
re-released
They
it,
were
yeah.
trying to get Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep on the store because PSP Go owners were pissed because they bought a Go, which is only digital, and you can't even play one of the biggest releases of the PSP, which is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
I do remember that. Yeah, but yeah, dude, I love Crisis Core more than I like Final Fantasy VII
same.
proper, and I know I'm like
No,
one of the only.
No,
people
I'll say
on the
I'm
planet
there.
that
I'm
thinks that,
about
but
there
that
too.
game-
It's about it leans almost in favor of Crisis Core over Final Fantasy VII, but I think the nostalgia of Final Fantasy VII kind of outweighs that. But Crisis Core,
Pushes
Yeah.
it up.
great game.
I could agree to that. I don't know. I thought the story as a whole was just a little more interesting.
It
to
was,
me.
and I think it was
Um,
because of the way that the story complemented and expanded upon the original games. It made you understand more of what the original game was actually trying to tell you, which I think is more amazing from a writing standpoint because none of that stuff was actually written. But when 7 was going on, this is stuff
Oh
they
yeah,
go
of course not.
kind of
Yeah.
like Kingdom Hearts. You know,
If-
they ghost write back that apparently, it's Xehanort the entire time at the gate in the first game. Like how the
Yeah.
hell you tying back the most
yeah, when
recent game?
that was when they did that in Birth by Sleep, though, I was like, all right, you made this up like last week.
But what's funny is it
Whereas
ties
like
together
Crisis
so
Core,
well.
Crisis Core, I bought into it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's Crisis Core. I don't know.
Zach is an infinitely
It made
more
me like
likable
Zach,
character than Cloud.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Crisis Core made me realize, like, after playing Crisis Core and then going back to Final Fantasy VII, I'm like, Cloud's kind of just a bitch.
Yeah, but you know what's funny?
Like he's
He
just
is,
kind
but
of
it
like
also makes
he's
him
like a
more human because you actually understand the way he found himself in the situation he was in.
Yeah, I do feel that too. I'm curious to see how I feel with this new Final Fantasy VII remake because I haven't played through Final Fantasy VII probably since I had beaten Crisis
yeah.
Core. I should go back. I mean, I've played like I got it when they did the PS1 remaster on PS4, but I didn't
Years
beat it.
ago, anyways. Like,
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting
Yeah,
things
I
about
have-
7. Sorry, Jeffrey. I think one of the interesting things about 7 is that they've loosely mentioned that they may try and rework at least some of the events of Crisis Core into 7, so that to frame the story a little bit better.
I would be down for it.
Yeah,
Totally
or a
down
full-on
for it.
remake. I would love.
Bring back Angio, bring back Genesis, bring
Go
back.
ahead, Jeffrey. What were you gonna say?
yeah. Talking about that, I have a friend who he's not really a big anime JRPG fan, but he somehow played Crisis Core on PSP back when he had a PSP. And now whenever we play Smash Bros, he always picks Cloud because it reminds him of the dude with cool hair from that
I love
PSP
it.
game he played. Yeah. And then I sent the picture of Zach, and I'm like, this guy's like, yeah, man, that guy has wicked hair. I'm like, cool, Joe, cool. Yeah. So on that, Nier, Bloodborne, solid titles. I'm thinking, I don't think we've ever said our favorite PlayStation title, so I guess let's run through those real quick. I'm gonna go with Infamous
Oh,
1.
great choice.
Such a really my first PlayStation exclusive that like, so like I was always a
You really
Nintendo
jumped
guy.
in on the PS3. Yeah, I was gonna.
I
say.
jumped in on the PS3, got it as a bar mitzvah present. It was some Black Friday bundle with Killzone 2 and Infamous. And I had a PlayStation history. My brother had a PSP, and my brother had a PS1. If you want to know that story, how he tried making that PS1 a Switch a decade before the Switch came out, go listen to episode 13 of PSBF.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I jumped really into the PS3 and Infamous. Even if I bought a PS3 at launch and stuff, and I followed every game, Infamous 1 had such like not in it, like I guess new is probably the best word because it wasn't really revolutionary or anything like that, but new locomotion that just felt so fun to fly around, hover really around
Well, yeah,
the city.
traversal was like if you took the really flawed traversal of Assassin's Creed or even the game that came out the same year and Prototype. You know, they and it's funny because Infamous and Prototype came out the same year, but Infamous in my mind just shit all over Prototype. I mean, it showed that you can have extremely
I totally forgot that those
it had
games.
extremely infinitely better traversal, had infinitely better story, the gameplay was more smooth, and it really tried playing more up on the superhero aspect, whereas they both had the sandboxy elements, but Infamous is just it's a game that you can look at and it's so passionately crafted. I mean, I am of the opposing opinion that
Yeah.
as much as I love 1 mainly because of just how amazing the story is, Infamous 2 is probably the pinnacle of Infamous to me, from a gameplay story coming together perspective. So, but I mean, that's a great choice.
I'd agree with you, but I think Infamous 2 just had some gameplay issues that really like didn't really bring down the experience, but like a lot of the missions felt like they were made in that UGC mode that they added, which isn't really like a compliment because like they were kind of really just basic. But not to say that Infamous 1's missions were all so unique, but I guess I don't know. I think I still would say I like Infamous 2 better, but like I have more attachment.
I understand that completely.
I'd say.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Second Son? Out of curiosity.
Second Son, I really didn't like. I thought it was such a flop. I
You didn't
really, I
like
don't know.
Delson, the most charismatic character on the planet.
Delson was so weak. I don't know why they got rid of Cole. Why they chose like. First of all, I always play the Infamous games Infamous because that's the name of the game, and don't go tell me that the good ending is now canon because I'm pretty sure it says on the box what ending is canon. Uh, but yeah, so I always play him Infamous, and then like Cole's still alive for me, but then like nah, he's actually dead. You know that worst ending that we killed him off? Yeah, that's the real one. And then it just I don't know. It wasn't
Well, I can
as
understand that.
fun,
I actually want to say
really.
like the
It didn't have
gameplay
the
was
same.
amazing. I mean, going between different powers was great. It was very smooth. It was and while I still think that 2 probably had the better gameplay for 1 power because it was able to really just take 1 power and expand upon it as much as possible. I loved in 2 when you could pull the menu over and like change which bursts. I want to do shield. I want to do this kind of push. I want to do this kind of a bolt. I love that. I thought that was
Yeah.
a much better use. I think that they did a good job with gameplay. It's just the story and the moral elements were so bad in that game that it was just it was like a shock for people who've come off of Infamous 1 and 2, where they all of the moral decisions actually came to a gray area where it's like I see how it's beneficial in both ways. Whereas every kind of moral decision the Infamous Second Son had was like, okay, well, you're either going to be just a goody two shoes or a complete asshole. And it's not not really because you're benefiting different groups of people. Because like one of the things I want to talk about like the most about the gray area, and I'm not going to actually spoil it because I think that there's still plenty of people who've maybe not played 2, but the ending of 2 where you have to make the decision and the game actually flips all the characters on their heads. And the best part about that is that the decision you have to make has got a lot of moral gray area because you understand both sides. It's like there's a good reason why you should do either way. So it just comes down to what you personally feel makes the most sense for you as Cole. And of course, everybody plays the Infamous games where you do one ending and then the other ending because it's just the way that they are and they're fun to do that way. But it still added so much weight to the way the game ended. And I will say, while I liked the evil ending a lot in the second game, I do think it was interesting for them to go ahead and go with the good ending as canon because I think that killing, as much as I love Cole and I really want him to come back, I think killing Cole made the weight of that game's ending make way more sense as you continue to go on because the chances of them coming back to Cole is less and it makes that more concrete. So
Fair enough.
That said, wait. With that said, I assume we all finished.
yes, I did. Saul, did you?
I
Right.
did not finish it.
I didn't,
But I am
just
fine
'cause
with
I'm-
it.
I
Okay.
did
Oh, well.
I
PS4 a
did,
lot.
but I generally can't even remember.
Oh, I'm not gonna spoil it. But
Well, I beat it and I don't remember it. I think it's spoilable. in
yeah,
that
me
case.
neither. But I remember, I think it was Greg, the one talking about it, that it would have been pretty cool if Cole
Yeah.
pops out at the end,
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
they,
and he's like the main villain.
they could have done so much, but it seems
That
like
would have
Out of
been so
curiosity,
good.
so we're all saying that we more or
Yes.
less we all have some kind of an affinity for Infamous, right? Is that where I'm kind of going with this? Oh, okay.
See,
Yeah.
I actually don't.
That's
It's
crazy.
interesting because I just don't know why.
Just
Back in the PS2 era when that game
PS3,
came
you mean?
out, I
PS3.
don't think I never
PS3.
gave it a fair PS3. What did I say? PS2.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, PS3. I don't think I ever gave it a fair shake. I think it's because Prototype came out around the same time, and I was just kind of like, I don't even really like. I played I don't know if there was a demo for it or if I borrowed it from someone. I don't remember, but I just was like, I'm just not really into
Not
it.
your type of game.
Yeah, like it's like Miguel. You know how you're just like I just don't understand how people like Overwatch. That's kind of how I was with Infamous, where it's like it's a cool game, but I don't understand why everyone ranks it so high. And I know that I'm
and sometimes
like,
you just
the
have to be
outlier
aware of
on
that.
that one, but I don't.
Okay, but the other two,
I just
y'all,
had
just out of
no
curiosity,
attachment to
this
it.
is something I've thought about a lot. Whenever Nate Fox came out on stage during the PS4 reveal and talked about, or it was E3, one of the two, when he talked about Second Son, I remember being so blown away because when they named it Second Son, where my brain went with it specifically was actually thinking about the first game, the enemies that come out at the very last section since they're broke off between the Reapers, the trash bag men, and then they're called the First Sons. And in my mind, I was like, oh my lord, they're about to completely go back and reference things from the first game. I was like, what happens? Are we going to see some form of oh lord, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. Kessler, yes, thank you. I was like, we're going to see
Kessler.
some kind of form of Kessler coming back. Are we going to see Kessler's group, even though Kessler was gone? Are we going to see them evolve into what they're going to call the Second Sons? Is it going to be kind of like, in my mind, I was thinking like the Third Reich, the Fourth Reich, how, they did that over and over again. So it's like, oh, it's the second coming of the first Sons, and they're trying to rebuild upon what they were working on. I was like, this story is going to be amazing. And I remember hyping myself up so much for it, and then the game just fell so flat. And the character dynamics weren't very good. I didn't even think Reggie. The game actually constantly contradicted itself. There's a part with Reggie where he tells you he's proud of you, but he tells you he's proud of you whether you were good or bad, and he's a dick to you the entire game if you're bad, and he's not proud of you, obviously. And the game's just like, I'm proud of you.
I gotta say, those are some of the probably the weakest performances by
I
Troy
can't
Baker and
believe
Travis
it. I know,
Willingham.
man.
Wait, Troy Baker was in
Troy-
that
no,
game?
Troy
Troy
Baker
actors.
was Nelson.
Well, he was working on. Wasn't he working on Metal Gear at that point?
Wow.
Nelson.
He was Elson, yeah. And Travis Willingham was his bro.
All right, Owen Wilson, calm down.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, so I got, let's knock this down. Miguel, how about you? Favorite PlayStation game?
I guess I got one recent one and one older one. So the
Oh, yes.
older one is CTR. I love it.
I know
Just
you
love it.
really love that.
I
game.
do it. I
you know
cannot
they're going to,
wait
yeah,
until
you
they
know it.
announce it. One of this oh dude,
Well,
I
think,
want
think
it
about
bad.
how
It's
much.
gonna be either that or Spyro. I don't think we get both
Spyro
at the
right
same
now.
time.
I'm okay
Yeah, well,
if
this,
it,
you know,
they
think
do
about
it,
how
but
much
I
Crash
want
Bandicoot sold.
CTR.
I mean, it is a juggernaut. I can't believe it. I'm honestly, I'm very surprised by how well it's performed.
I'm-
Same here. And the most recent
Oh,
one
yes.
is
For-
The Last of
for-
Us. For a game at the first hour to I'm playing it and I had to stop.
Exactly, and it's
I'm sure you guys know where
no,
I'm
for the
talking
few
about.
people who have managed to
Should I spoil it or not?
No,
It's
we all-
spoiled.
Okay.
That
You
the
guys
first
know
out.
where- Yeah.
Are you talking about
that
when
happened
you're before the outbreak?
before? Yeah.
Yeah, you could talk about
when it
that.
started.
That's come on.
I don't know. I thought you were gonna say
Yeah,
when
the
early
game broke
seasons.
itself in the season.
Seasons.
Like
No,
pretty-
no, no. Like before the outbreak, you could
Before
talk
the
We're gonna
about
take
the
a
when
first
look.
they're-
20 minutes of the
okay,
game.
well, all right. The first 20 minutes. Okay, we're gonna spoil the opening. When they're running through the streets, and then the soldiers just start killing people, and they kill
Yeah,
his
Sarah.
daughter, dude. That's I had to stop, and I was like, what the fuck?
It did.
That
It did
thing
fuck
got
with me too.
That guy, I had to stop for 10, 20 minutes. I just stare at the fucking TV, dude.
It really set up what that game was going to be and
Exactly.
what punches that
It's
game
one of
was
those
going to
things where
take. And I think it did it so brilliantly, Like it didn't ease up on you.
And I even think when the next sort of big character dies too, kind of gut punches you too, just because you didn't you felt like you were still getting to know that character.
Well, yeah, the brilliance
And
in
then,
that game is
they're gone.
actually the very
You're like,
beginning.
"Oh,
Is the
shit."
fact that you actually. It's funny because people talk, well, why are you playing the game as her? Well, the only reason that they even care to have you play the game as her is it sets up the beginning. Obviously, it lets you kind of meet Joel in a different way. But the main point of you playing as her is to draw you in, because naturally most people end up caring more about the people that they actually play as. There's something about connecting with the person you're physically playing as, and it was to set you up to where you have a personal relationship with her, and then you just get to see it torn apart from you, and it adds to the weight, because obviously you know what Joel's going through. I mean, the performance is part of it, because obviously the performance is hauntingly well done, but it's also just the way they set everything up. You understand the position that Joel's in, and you also understand Sarah, and you feel like a personal, because you're controlling her, you feel like almost a personal responsibility over her. So for that to happen with you having absolutely no control is a great way to take the feeling of control from you and just rip it away.
Yeah. So those are my two. Storytelling for me is.
Yeah, I'm a very
I don't know.
narrative-driven person.
I really like storytelling in
Mhm.
games. For example, Hellblade, it just came out. It has a great story. I think, in my opinion, it's probably the best
Ooh,
story so far this
Nier
year.
Automata begs the
my
difference just a bit. Yeah.
See, I didn't
Yeah,
play that.
I'll give it to you. It's a great story.
So that's
I'm
why
actually, I'd be interested to
I
talk
think
to you all a
Persona
little bit off
5
the
is up
record.
there.
the game is so new. I don't want to say anything that would spoil, but I have some thoughts because that game,
Oh yeah,
because of
Definitely, I
the
would have to step
way
on
that
it
game
on that.
handles its subject matter. There's a lot of ways where perspective comes into that game. So I would like to talk to you about some for those of you who have actually beaten it.
Yeah, word up.
I think Miguel's the only one that's touched it.
Yeah, I plan on playing it soon. I have it on Steam, but just because
I gotta worry about Lost Legacy first, because I still have some stuff I'm playing now, and then I'm getting Lost Legacy on GameFly, so I probably won't get it till the end of the week that it comes out in. So I'm gonna have to crank through it when I get it.
Anthony, what about you? What's your favorite PlayStation game?
Okay, so I'm gonna give an honorary mention because I played it on 360 when it came out.
Always with
And
the
that-
honorary mentions.
Well, no, because
What
this
is-
one I had.
what is
It's Bioshock. I have Jack's the chain links tattooed on my body, so I have to give that an honorary mention. But I did play it on 360 because it was originally an Xbox 360 exclusive. I mean, it's one of my favorite games of all time, if not my favorite game of all time. But to get to PlayStation, if we're sticking with the one old, one new, I'm probably gonna go. And I had to think kind of long and hard about this, but I gotta go
Ooh, that's a good
SOCOM
one.
2. I know there's a story to it. It's a SOCOM story, you know what I mean? But it's
You,
I
you
put
felt like a
so many
badass
fucking hours
doing
into that game.
everything.
And then Combined Assault as well, but I'm just kind of trying to stick to one game in the series. Well, but that's why I like Ghost Recon Wildlands. It feels like it's the closest thing we're ever gonna get
Is the
to
free trial
Yeah,
still,
so-
still down for
SOCOM
that?
game. But I just I don't know. I put so much time into the 5-hour free trial for
Yeah.
for Wildlands right now. I think, yeah. But yeah, SOCOM. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna say Combined Assault.
Is that the second one?
So SOCOM Combined Assault. It was the fourth one on PS2, but it wasn't numbered for. It basically it was a new story, but it took multiplayer from SOCOM 3 and then added more to it. So I'll go with that for an old one, and then for a moderate, like a, relatively modern game. See, there were so many games that were exclusives to PS4 when I played them, and then they went to Xbox afterwards. I don't know why.
Just go.
I'm having a hard time justifying it to myself, but it's just the name of this game keeps popping up, and that's Oxenfree. I don't know why. I
Interesting.
fucking adored that
Sounds
game.
familiar. What game is that?
I love.
I was
It's-
going to ask the same thing.
So it's a very story heavy. It's kind of side scrolling game, but there's a little bit of not even platforming. It's just you move around in like a 2D area.
Does it have a really kind of cartoonish art style? Like I think I maybe hold on. Let me look real quick. I can Google it real quick.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's an animated game, but the story gets real cool real fast, and like it went in a totally different direction from what I thought it was going to be. And the way it was described to me before I played it was it's kind of like Lost meets like
I hear it's very Telltale-esque. Is this true?
not even a little bit.
Oh, there's
In
no
the sense
choices?
that it's oh yeah, like there's decisions you make in the game. Okay, if you want to go with that angle, then yes.
That's what I
But it's
meant.
not-
Is there moments where it's like Johnny will remember that?
Yes, but they happen so much faster. Like they happen so fast. Sometimes you don't even have sometimes you will miss reacting to something because it happens so fast. It doesn't stop the game like how Telltale. It kind of like stops it and then has like a little countdown timer. The prompts just pop up and then they just slowly disappear. And like sometimes you could just totally miss it. So and I really like that about it because it makes you pay attention to the game more. Whereas like a Telltale game, you can kind of half pay attention to it while you're playing it. But I thought the story was awesome. I thought the characters were pretty rad. The ending really got me, where I thought about it like for a week straight afterwards. Where I was just like, damn, like. And then I went on the Reddit for it, and
Is
I
this
was
game
reading
on
theories about that
PS4?
too.
Sweet. I mean,
Yes, it's on PS4. But like I said, it's another one that was a PS4 exclusive that then went. To
I got it.
Was
No,
it
it was the
exclusive?
other way
I thought
around.
it was on
No, it was the other way
It
around.
was on
It was on
right?
Xbox
Yeah.
originally, went to PS4, but I didn't play it on Xbox. I played it on PS4. So it was opposite then. I'm sorry. Well, Firewatch was the one that did that, where it was on PS4 first and then went to Xbox. That's why I got those two confused.
Word up. Yeah, so cool. We didn't really, besides The Last of Us, we didn't really have, and we kind of had the classic staple
Oh, I got a
of best.
honorable
friends.
Kingdom Hearts is basically my favorite, but we talked about it so
Yeah,
ad nauseum that I didn't want to bring it up again.
notable mention real quick.
Yeah,
Game of the generation, Mad Max.
Oh, get out of here!
you're so crazy. Moving on. I don't know. Anyone you want to talk about favorite games or any last mentions? This being
I mean-
a community focused podcast. Cool question.
I'm surprised
who added-
nobody mentioned
exactly.
Uncharted.
Oh, it's because Uncharted is the shoe, and everyone knows. That's why I was like, besides the classic staples. But yeah, so this being a community, I don't know who added this question to the list, but I like it. First gaming community you were a part of. Let me just start off, just so if you want to think about your answers, Britt and Saul. But first real gaming online community I was a part of was GameSpot. Used to have these like you could create your own forum and create like pretty much your own subsect forum, like pretty much your own subreddit, really. And I
Yeah,
think they
they
were
were.
called unions or something, or groups or
You
whatever,
could
something
level
weird.
up.
And it was this all Nintendo one.
I did
You-
this.
oh, you know-
yeah,
you
this
know what
is
I'm talking
bringing back
about?
memories.
Yeah, there was a whole and like within it there were mods and like admins and mods and like this whole hierarchy of people, and like every month there would be like different like not competitions, well, like it was like just like events, I guess, really. Like oh, everyone submit your cool thing and then like we'll show off the top 5 or something. And it was like a good group of like maybe like 200 like active users. And like I became like really good like friends, but like I knew everyone by their handle, of course, and it was just like this really classic like gaming forum. And pretty much that'd be like refreshing every day, posting in every thread I see. Like NeoGAF pretty much, but like really isolated and just like I don't know, that was my first community. I don't know if you guys had any yourselves.
Well, yeah, I can attest to that. I remember that very well. And it was just so fun because it was kind of like a forum board, but it was very close knit and personal. Like you got to kind of know everybody in the unions and stuff, and then it was always just kind of cool to go on there and chat about stuff. But I'm pretty sure that my first community was a forum website. It was kind of like a news website with a huge forum back end, but it was called High Impact Halo, and it was revolving around doing like warthog jumps and glitches in Halo and finding all the skulls and doing all the secret stuff. And then of course there was a forum board with each game, and you had the off topic forum, which is where everybody really was at all the time. And it was just pretty fun to go through and talk to people on there.
Yeah, for me, it was probably. I don't know if you count this, but circling back to SOCOM, I had a clan. Like it was the first time I ever got into clans in any game, and SOCOM Combined Assault. I had boys that I rolled with when I was like fucking like 15 years old. That it was fucking awesome. Like to the point where like we had each other's backs. Like it was just, it's hard to describe, but like to the point where like I played harder with those dudes back then than I do with like my real friends when I play online games with them. So we would meet up all the time. We would play in game battles, and that shit was crazy. There was like a forum on game battles, I think. But that was cool. But really, outside of that, probably was IGN. I mean, I was never really on any forums because I went on forums for other non-gaming stuff when I was younger. So for gaming, yeah, it must have just been I kept up with IGN, and I would say in the comments and everything, and then I kind of got into Unlocked, and then got into Beyond. I would watch Up at Noon.
Yeah, I guess in terms of community, there was pretty much a pretty big gap for me, at least, between the GameSpot Union days, and I guess I really didn't consider podcasts a community till like it must have been at least like 2012 or something, or 11, and that's like 2 years, or yeah, about 2 years after, or 3 years after listening to Beyond. I jumped on Beyond in 09. And yeah, so like between then and even I wouldn't really like say that's like a full community in terms of like knowing other people until probably around Kind of Funny, in which I like
Same, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah, really. Same. The Kind of Funny Facebook group is really the first like big community that I was like on a day-to-day basis like a part of.
Yeah, because like even before like there was the Twitter and constant checking of social media, I was checking I was checking like the forum, like the GameSpot forums like that, like they were a Twitter or Facebook. But then there was pretty much just like a gap of like 5 or 7 years where like there wouldn't be something I'd be checking regularly until like Facebook groups became like a norm, I guess. Yeah.
Miguel, how about you?
Uh, I wasn't part of a community when I was younger. Like I just played by myself and like my friends and stuff until probably I started like getting really into games. So I started checking like IGN and websites like that. And I found one of their posts when they were posting Beyond, the guys. So I just listened to that, and I think it was like around episode. It was before 300, so it was like 270 something, probably 280. And since then, I'm like, oh, I like this guys.
Yeah, I got you.
I've just been
That's
following
kind of
them
where
pretty
I'm
much.
at with it.
Wasn't
When I
too
was
big
young,
on
like I said,
Twitter.
we were really poor, so I didn't consistently have any form of internet. So a lot of that stuff actually didn't even, like, I didn't know about until I was close to 14, 15, 16. And early on, you know, it's kind of like what Anthony was talking about with SOCOM, is that you kind of get to where you play certain games with certain people and like you get really close to them. So 3 games that I had kind of like that, and I'm not going to say there are forums or communities in that way. It's just, you know, reaching out and talking with a good chunk of people that you play specific games with. But I played a couple of online games when we finally started getting some. So RuneScape is probably one of my original, like, I just played the hell out of RuneScape and had so many people that I played with. Another one was called Silk Road Online, and then Guild Wars. And I
Classic.
played those, and I had so many people that we just like, you know, we'd get on there, and it was like getting on there just to hang out and like you go do stuff together. But then it sounds kind of dumb, but you know, you're young and you're just like, whatever, I'm staying up all night to play these fucking games. So we would like, we would all be like, hey, we're just gonna get stuff for each other, and we'd like go out and buy stuff to be like, I think that they need that. That looks like gear that they could use, and we'd buy it and just like trade each other, just different random times, and we'd go help each other get some stuff. Really dumb. But that was, I've not had a lot of it, even though I hopped into like, you know, Beyond, probably around the actually similar time to Miguel. I think mine was a little bit earlier, maybe 250. I was more of a, hey, I'm just going to listen to this when I have a chance to. And then I never really interacted with the community. I started interacting with the community more when it came to Kind of Funny specifically. But I'd say the first real community I've been in, surprisingly enough, is ours. Just because I'm really seeing what a community can be. And that's like, kind of like Saul said, when you see the shock of the community when Colin left, it made you understand what a community can be. And prior to that, I've never been big on social media or even forums. So it just, up until we decided to come in and kind of look and get our Twitter going. And, you know, it's funny, community doesn't have to be very big. I love the community we have. We have a lot of people who are very interactive with us and that spend their time, you know, even listening to us or just talking back to us. And then there's something that feels so good about that, even if it wasn't just us as a center of attention. It's just nice having a group of people that just want to spend time with each other, you know, in the weirdest of ways, but it's fun. I mean, I really like that. So the community thing is great, and I hope to be part of more as we continue to go.
Awesome. So I guess funny enough, rounding out the what we usually do first. What are you guys playing? What you guys been playing?
Yeah, Hellblade.
Nice.
I beat it and then didn't get the platinum, so I instantly came back in. I was like, you know what? I have a pro. I'm gonna go ahead and play in 60 frames per second. Besides that, I've been back on the Vita a little bit and playing Disgaea 3. Yep.
Do you have a Switch? Did Disgaea 3 on Switch make you want to play it on the Vita?
So that was this guy at 5.
Oh no,
Oh, it's 5.
Switch is Disgaea
I don't know.
5. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't keep track.
No, I never beat 3 on PS3 or Vita when it first came out, and I get really far, but those games are just big time sinks. And I was like, I want to play something on Vita, but I don't know what it is. So I was just like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to play Disgaea 3, and it's a great game. Probably going to hop into 4 on Vita afterwards. I have a Switch. I haven't played it much. I think Zelda was a little overrated,
Thank you.
personal. And I
Thank
know
you.
So
I know that, yeah, apparently Miguel gets it, but I'm in the
haters.
lower form of that. We had this conversation at GameStop earlier with both Horizon and Zelda. With both Horizon and Zelda coming out close to each other, I think that Zelda got lauded more just for the fact that it was finally catching up to modern times. Whereas what it did was all just, it was fine, but it wasn't some kind of revolution or a real big thing. I mean, the climbing element we've seen in games back in PS2, we've seen the big, huge open world with Skyrim, Witcher, all those kind of games.
What
And I
PS2
actually
game
felt like
has
that
climbing?
world was a
What
little
PS2
empty.
game has climbing like that?
Shadow of the Colossus. Now, you can't climb on
You
everything,
can't
but it's
climb
very
on
similar to that.
everything. Shadow Colossus has some of the worst climbing
Yeah, I
controls,
agree.
actually, I think, and it's
Well, yeah,
only
but I
on
mean,
the
okay,
it's only on 16 different things.
I mean, I get where you're going, but the climbing is just as clumsy on Zelda, and the climbing meter is actually
I
probably.
just
Oh,
hated the
completely
stamina
everything.
system.
Bullshit.
It was
The
so
climbing in Zelda is literally just
That's-
you
yeah.
on it and you walk upwards. It's the same as walking.
I prefer climbing in God of War, where you don't even have.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. My wife's actually playing
it's good,
Splatoon
isn't
2
it?
right now on Switch, but I'm kind of in the same boat with my Switch. I got I Am Setsuna on it just because I was hoping to hold out for a Vita port of I Am Setsuna, but I guess the Vita port in Japan was just real bad. So I was like, well, I want to play this game on the go. I know I should get it on PlayStation, but I want to play it on the go. So I got it on Switch. I think I'm about halfway, maybe maybe 1/3 of the way through, and I adore the game. I love the music, I love the setting, I love the tone, I love the characters. It's just a game I just gotta. I think I want to wait until like the winter to play it, like to really finish it, just because it's
Okay.
like that's the setting of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
gotcha.
other than that,
How
yeah,
are you feeling about the Lost Sphere coming? By the
I
same
think it looks real
developers?
cool. It
It does
looks
too.
more Final Fantasy than I Am Setsuna did, so that's cool.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I'm
Which is
excited
good
for
though.
it.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm totally cool with it. So I'm excited for that, but I want to be I Am Setsuna before that comes out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
That's
mean, I
just
don't
one
know.
of
That's
the kind of on my back
That's a
burner.
weird question. I mean, thinking about that, but I don't know. Zelda just didn't get it for me. But really, until I see some kind of maybe, I don't know. I want a traditional Zelda. Actually, I think that when it comes to the Switch, I'll probably want to dive back into it when we get something a little closer to Link Between Worlds. I think that was a much better game than the new Zelda. But again, I have an uncommon opinion.
See,
I
I wouldn't
understand
go
that.
that far personally.
I don't know. The structure of it was just so
I can
good.
get into Link Between Worlds. I don't know why.
It's going to sound weird, but there's on Vita, there's an Adventure Time game, and I'm not even a huge Adventure Time fan.
Yes,
But
yep,
there's
yep. I was talking about it a couple
Nameless
episodes ago
Kingdom?
on our.
Yeah,
the
I love
Nameless
that game.
Kingdom, right?
I got the platinum for it. I think that was better than
Like
the new
99
Zelda.
cents.
Well, I've been playing Splatoon 2 a lot.
Yeah, what about what else have you been playing?
Yeah, Splatoon 2. Yeah, it
Yeah, my wife really likes it.
I can't get into it. I just not I can't get into it. I enjoy it. Not enough to buy, but I don't even want to buy it because I can't support that shitty business practice like that. It's you can't not have voice chat in 2017. It's just so ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but I don't
can
care
actually
about
understand
talking to other people
see
in
that's
that
kind
game
of my thing.
anyways.
Is
That doesn't
I pick
bother
it
me.
up for like
I guess.
play it for 30 minutes.
Like I don't use like the game chat anyways. Really, in most
Yeah, and
games.
see if I'm playing by myself, certainly not. And I don't have any other friends that have a Switch that would play with me, so I'm not really concerned about voice chat anyways. I think it's a great game though to pick up and play for a half hour at a time and play because there's like 3-minute or 5-minute matches and you can go in there and just have fun for a couple games and set it back down.
It just seems like it scratches like a primal itch of just like go
Yeah,
and just
it's really
splatter paint
satisfying.
everywhere. You know what I mean? But like I can't do that in my house, but I can do it in this game.
Yeah, but
So
don't
that
try to
kinda-
switch loadout.
Oh yeah, that is annoying. I wish you could do that.
Man, you're such a fucking pessimist,
That is-
dude. I don't get it. But
That's
you'll
all right.
champion Zelda.
And support that.
I do wish you could
Support
change
that.
loadouts, but at least everything
Bad for
the
the gaming
transition's
industry.
fast.
Trying to better the industry.
Can I say that we're probably all of us gonna end up getting Mario when
sure.
it comes out? Mario
Yeah,
Kart,
of course. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, of course.
Again, I'm going to be the weird guy.
Probably for the Switch.
No, not
Brett's a
getting it.
hater over here.
Why is that? Why wouldn't you pick it up? You're not a big fan of Mario? Or?
Yeah, not a big fan of Mario. I am of the, and I played Mario and Boogerman, and these are different kind of platformers. But I played Mario and Crash, and all very close to each other. And I've never thought a Mario game was that great. I think they're well made games, and I understand why people like them. But I actually like Little Big Planet. I like floaty platformers actually a little bit more. I thought Sonic was a better platformer.
That's crazy.
And then I actually think Crash Bandicoot is actually one of the best platformers I've ever played. It sounds like a weird thing to say, but I mean, I think that kind of platforming really sticks with me. And I've actually just thought Mario is kind of boring.
Oh no.
And I don't like him as a character.
I have to. I agree to an extent that I personally think most Mario games are a little overrated.
yep,
but
right
Mario
there.
64 is the GOAT. It really
Well,
is.
see,
Mario 64 is the
I
worst.
have
I'm actually about to
Really?
Are you
flip it
kidding
around
me?
again.
Yeah.
I fucking love Mario 64.
I thought that Banjo
Old game
Kazooie
is
was
old,
better
bro.
than Mario
No.
64.
What? What? This is a PlayStation podcast. Let's get back to PlayStation. I'll go all day on Mario 64 versus Banjo. Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Yeah, so we've been going for about an hour and 11 minutes. I kind of figured we'd wrap the show up by seeing if you guys had any questions for us outside of anything you've already brought up.
Who's your favorite member of Kind of Funny? Each of you.
Yeah, Saul's kind of got an extra delay. I don't know what's
Ooh.
going on there. So just sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, whatever. We'll try fixing it in post. Favorite member of Kind of Funny? I gotta say Tim, honestly.
He gets a lot of undeserved hate.
Yeah.
This is funny. I
I
like
don't
it.
even know. It's good.
It's because that's Miguel's least favorite.
Oh wow. I mean, don't get me
What?
wrong. I'm fine with it.
Isn't Tim your least favorite, Miguel?
Yeah, I don't.
It's
like
one of those things.
I don't know why. I just hate
I get that. I think there's a couple of things, and I'm not gonna. It's not. I'm not saying it as hate at all, but I think one of the things about Tim is Tim sometimes I don't want to say he's bandwagoning, and I don't think he does it intentionally either. But he talks about himself being the Kingdom Hearts guy, and I have a hard time with you saying that you're the blank 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 guy, and you don't know really anything. The other day he did what IGN's done plenty of times.
We've actually
he
talked
said
about this
Xenohort
off the
the other day, and I
past.
was like, you have lost all Kingdom Hearts respect from me, good sir. Like. So I mean, there's that, and then he also
Yeah,
he always shits on every game outside of 1 and 2. It's like he played 2, liked them, and now he considers himself the expert almost, but he doesn't know anything that's going on. He was
It's because he's the expert out of him, Greg. and-
exactly, but that doesn't make
and
you an expert.
Andy.
I bet he.
No,
Yeah, I bet he
I
thinks
agree
that
to an
Xehanort's only
extent.
two
I think
people.
I might actually have to change my vote to Andy. I love Andy. His whole shtick is so good. You could see how much his humor is inspired by the McElroy and Nick Robinson
Yeah,
type of humor. His whole like being awkward and that crash interview. It's just so perfect, and it's so what it's like the good young boy kick that like Kind of Funny needs.
See, I hate that fucking term.
we did a bad boy.
I don't like the young boy thing and like
Oh.
the
He's-
boys thing. I don't know
Oh,
about
you don't like
He's 30, right?
boy orgies? He's 28. I
it's
think.
just the
29.
boy using boy for everything. It's just I don't know.
Okay,
I
I'm
feel
gonna tell
like
you,
that
the
bothers
boy
me.
orgy was fantastic. I went to Kind of Funny Live 3. It was
Oh,
probably
nice.
one of the best moments of the whole show. Just because I wanted to
It's like
see
the
them
Ultimate Video.
capitalize on something as ridiculous as boy orgy, because that sounds like you're gonna get into a lawsuit.
Yeah, they don't even give a shit. I thought
Yeah,
they
I
were
don't
gonna
know.
change the lyrics or something, but
Yeah, what I'll say
make it,
though,
like,
I'm with you. I
Mhm.
really like Andy. I think his how satire he is with everything, and I like the characters he kind of ends up making up.
I
But
love how he is like Charlie Day as the wild card
exactly,
on Twitter.
exactly. One of
Where,
the
like
things I
when
love,
when he takes control of the Kind of Funny Twitter.
yeah, but one of the things I actually love about Andy is I feel like Andy and Nick actually play off of each other really well. I really like Nick a lot. I mean, sorry, I really like Nick a lot though.
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah, I was gonna say originally I got into Kind of Funny because of Greg. I've been following Greg because he was always the Metal Gear guy at IGN, and I was always obsessed with Metal Gear. And I was like, this dude is, like I can relate to this guy. And plus, I thought he was, pretty funny on pretty funny on Up and Noon. And so like I followed them there, and then I kind of didn't really like get into Colin until after I started listening to Kind of Funny, because I didn't listen to Beyond
Oh,
that
yeah,
much.
yeah.
I don't know why. I just kind of missed it. It's not like I intentionally didn't listen to it. But the older I get, the more I kind of relate to Nick, and it's like just things that he does or says. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I do that. Like when he had like the sugar-free Red Bulls, and I was like, oh, I like the sugar-free Red Bulls when everyone else likes the normal Red Bulls. Or like one day, like literally one day, he's like, they were talking about exercising, and he's like, yeah, you know, like I'll try to go to the gym, and then I'll just end up like running on a treadmill for 15 minutes while listening to a podcast. While I was on a treadmill listening to him talk on a podcast, and it was just bizarre. It's like weird little things that like the older I get, the more I relate to Nick.
Yeah, I understand that. Now, I'm
Um,
actually going to say, I mean, because Colin's not in anymore, I'm actually of the mindset. I really liked the dynamic that Colin brought because I will say, and it's a thing I've seen people complaining about, and I'm not. It's not a complaint by me. I think that the show and Kind of Funny as a whole still work without him, but I did like the element of opposition, I'll say, that Colin would bring sometimes, and sometimes it was just the realisticness of what Colin would say, because sometimes Greg and Tim specifically have the tendency to kind of pussyfoot around a subject, or just kind of constantly pat each other's shoulders of like, yeah, that's a good idea, which is not bad. It's just that they both have agreeing opinions. But the upside when you have someone like Colin who has such a starkly different opinion about some things is that it just makes conversations more interesting. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's-
Colin had such a different opinion all the time that people thought he was just being a contrarian just for contrarian's
yeah,
sake.
but I honestly think
But,
he believed everyone because he was
I
very
do agree
vehement
with
in
it.
his belief. So I don't think he was doing it just to be
yeah,
the odd man out.
I do feel that there is a little bit of a void left with Greg. I almost feel like Greg doesn't fit with any one person that's currently with Kind of Funny as well as he did with Colin.
Oh, of course not.
And so I feel like it's like I feel like I can't latch on to Greg as well anymore with that foil not being there for him. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Because Colin was almost like when you think Greg, you think Colin, you think Colin, you think Greg.
Yeah, like
They
they were just
are a
such they were
duo.
just such a perfect foil for each other, and
Mhm.
like now it's kind of just like Greg says these things, and then everyone's just kind of like, oh yeah,
Well,
that's a
And
thing.
the other thing, like
And-
you're saying with Greg, is that Colin, because of his nature, is actually he was normally the thing that weighed Greg back down. Because you notice Greg's gotten a lot more crazy since Colin's left. Greg was always crazy, but Colin would be the balance that would bring things back down to a manageable. It was weird because sometimes Greg will just go on a
Yeah.
tangent with craziness, and it's not that it's not funny. It's just sometimes it ends up pulling away from the subjects.
Yeah, and Greg is kind of like Colin's mayonnaise, just the perfect fit.
Although, can we all agree that the Waterman was the best? Yeah, we all have to agree that the Waterman is the greatest internet story.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's fucking great.
Oh,
Waterman is some new wave Colin and Greg bit though. Like there's
no, the raccoon story. Grandma's raccoon.
That one was good too. No, but I'm saying like just the fact that it was happening like while they were recording. You know what I mean?
the
Like
latest.
it was like a live thing.
Yeah. I mean, story wise, you go like all these things. Timmy or whatever was great. I mean, there's a lot of good bits they had.
Like my favorite one was Colin before he left. Obviously, I just connected with him.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what I think.
We share a lot of the same opinions. Yeah, and now that he's gone,
So this is a little
Nick,
wonky.
yeah, it's Nick, and they're a close second, Andy. He's like right there, dude. I love those two guys when they're doing the morning show together. Oh, dude, I love.
Yeah,
it.
it's
So
great.
great. They just connect so
Also,
good.
I like that
It's
Kevin
like-
moved up. I like that they started using a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
Because used to Kevin was there to be shit on. Early days, it was like we're gonna shit all over Kevin, but I like that he's kind of gotten his own little. He's brought in his own personality of it. It's funny because when I was at Kind of Funny Live 3, it was like there was a very dedicated group of people that were specifically looking for Kevin. So it's like he's become this own persona now, which is really awesome for him.
he really has like the best like story arc, you know?
He does.
Like,
Now, I mean, I'm actually out of curiosity. Where do you guys stand on Cool Greg? I like him, but I don't really know that he
I
needed
love
to be in it in the way that he is now.
I like him. I just don't know if he fits.
Exactly, same.
what I said to them when that happened, when they officially announced that they hired him, we talked it privately, but I'm gonna say I don't care. The only reason I think he got hired is because of Tim.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would
Oh,
definitely
absolutely.
say. Which I mean, it's a good thing they're doing. I mean, from the life that
Like,
you
I
can
like the
see that
guy.
Greg has lived, Cool Greg, is that you can tell that this opportunity will probably keep him out of a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
I think his weirdness definitely plays into the whole thing.
Well, yeah, and he could be having a hard time finding a job with his current background.
Yeah, from the
I
the
get
one
it
on
and
one
everything,
episode.
and I like that he's a wrestling fan, which is good.
Yeah,
like it.
huge Sasha Banks.
Like really hardcore on it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like
it
he
works
actually
with
knows what he's talking
he
about.
works
yeah.
with Greg in that particular aspect. Yeah.
All right, so you guys, anything else you got top of your heads other than anything to do with kind of funny?
I would say,
Just because we kind of drilled that one.
yeah, we did drill that one pretty hard. Saul, do you have any
Yep.
questions you can think of?
Uh,
I kind of want to go. I want to question based off of particularly going off of the podcast. I mean, for you guys, how much do you feel like the? And I mean, and just I think it's an interesting conversation to have with anybody that does podcast. Work to personal reward, like sense of accomplishment. How do you feel like that works out with y'all? Do you feel like you've hit a stride with your podcast, where you feel like you understand the workload and you enjoy what you get back out of it?
Yeah, so just the other day, really, I was in Destin Legary, the Destin channel on Twitch,
Sure. Yeah.
and some dude noticed my handle, Mr. Brawl 96. I think it's his name was like CLA and then a couple numbers. And he noticed my handle and was like, "Oh, what up, man?" I'm like, "Wait, what? Don't know." He's like, "Oh yeah, I listen to PS Best Friends," and I guess I don't think I ever got his name, but I mean, it must be his handle, whatever. So he must be a listener, and it's like,
Yeah, let's
whoa,
stop afterwards if you listen to this.
yeah, definitely. Cool having like being noticed elsewhere, even if we have like just 100 listeners and it's one dude on a channel in a chat that like is extremely related to like the thing. Like Destin Legary's pretty related to Kind of Funny tangentially. But yeah, so like all the work we put into it, it was definitely worth more like having like someone else be like, yeah, listen to your shit, it's awesome. It's like,
Yeah. Any of you other
Sweet.
guys?
Yeah, and I
Anything?
mean,
Good.
yeah, this kind of started off as just kind of like a passion project, and none of us really knew even what we were getting into when we started it. And now that we're like having a lot of fun, like thinking of ideas of what else we can do. Like we're starting to do YouTube stuff now.
Yeah. I saw that.
It's a fucking train wreck, but it's like but it makes it fun. You know what I mean? So I love doing it. I've just been wanting to do a podcast for
Yeah, I would say
years.
the challenge,
Back when I
the
finally-
challenge aspect is fun in a way that's like, okay, and it's not a challenge in the normal sense of what you think, but it's a challenge in the sense of like you see what your goal like or what you want your goal to be, or even an outline. And go, how do I get there? What do I push there to get there? But I definitely agree with what Jeffrey was saying, where it doesn't matter who it is, but like the one or two people or that end up, just taking a good chunk amount of their time. Like we've gotten a couple of emails in where people have been like, "Oh my God, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for doing the podcast." And we had a reader mail for episode 20 where the guy had apparently just found us. And he was like, I've listened to all the episodes. This is great. I love you guys. Keep it going forever. And I mean, he just reached out a hand in a way that it's very interesting to see how if you just put yourself out there, the reward that people can give you back. And then the sharing aspect, and it does come back to community. It's just such an interesting thing to have going on because I love the interaction that the people have with me just as much as I hope they love having the back and forth. And it's just, there is a very good sense of personal reward and pride with it. And I love it. And I every time I meet someone who does podcasts, or we've been on a couple of guest episodes now, I always ask that to kind of see what people are feeling about the work. Cause it is something that it is a lot of work. Definitely when you're doing the video aspect, as y'all continue to set that up, I'm sure you'll see how that goes if you haven't already run into issues with it. But it's like, you're working hard the whole time you're doing it, and then as soon as you're done, you're like, I'm so proud of this. It doesn't matter how much work it was. And then the people take their time out to just say, hey, that was awesome. That was good. We enjoy your opinion. Here's my opinion. It's just great that people will even bother to give you that time of day.
Yeah, and it also helps that all three of us kind of do our parts. You know what I mean? Like Miguel, like he'll be like Sunday night, he'll be like, "Oh fuck, I didn't write the doc," and then he'll like stay up all night, or he'll like crank it out on Monday, and so he'll bust his ass with that. And then I'll stay up late, like editing the episode. Jeffrey's been busting his ass with video stuff lately, so it's pretty cool how all three of us have kind of managed to balance it. And especially because Miguel and I both work like a lot. Like I work full time during the week, and Miguel's schedule is kind of similar.
Yeah,
And,
work,
we're still
and I'm
kinda-
gonna go back to school, so it's probably
Yeah, that too. So, but we're making it work, and it's really been worth it.
yeah, that feeling. I don't know what it is, but that feeling that you get when someone recognizes your work. I don't know. It's just feels special. I guess I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Um, but other than that, I mean, like I'm not too good on the video stuff. Like I did like two that I posted 2 videos on YouTube so far, and the accomplishment that I get when I'm actually done with it, especially the last one that I did yesterday. Like I don't edit that much because I'm not familiar with the
Yeah.
system, the software. But when I'm done with it and it's there, and like for Jeffrey and Anthony to give me some feedback, like, hey, you did a good job, maybe change this or that.
Yeah, and the
It
growth
feels
of it
good.
feels good. Like you know where you messed up because as we've
Yeah.
continued to go through our podcast, the first few episodes had a really long intro that I kind of just threw together, and we shortened it up a little bit. And now I've gotten to the point where I figured out a little more on the animation side, and I made a very short intro, but I think it looks way better. And the constant evolution of the channel and like what we continue to do, and even the ideas that some people throw back into us, yeah, the feeling of accomplishment is really great. Definitely when you work a job that you don't necessarily love. So the passion side of this, it really helps balance the normal work element of just like me and Saul both work full-time jobs outside of this as well, so it makes it a little rough when you go to do it, but it's the sense of enjoyment and the sense of just hard work that you're putting into something that you're not required to do is actually amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, Saul, any other questions on your part? Are you good?
I think I'm pretty good.
I got a question for you guys.
Okay.
A really quick one. You could answer in a couple of them. What do you guys think of the current state of PlayStation?
I think that PlayStation is actually, I mean, I think they're in a good spot, obviously, and numbers are going to tell you the most of what that is. But I think that they're probably in the best position that they've been in for a few years. That doesn't necessarily, well,
Yes,
yeah, and
far.
I do mean that from a business standpoint. Now, from a standpoint of a creative force and what they really can be, I don't know if they'll ever do better than what the PS3 was. The PS3 was just the underdog mentality, and I don't know that you'll see that again unless we see another hard flip like we did from last gen to this gen. If you see something like you did with the 360 PS3 area into the PS4 with the PS5 where Xbox suddenly takes back over, or even more surprising, Nintendo takes back over in a way that's even more powerful than what they have going on now, then maybe you'll see it. But
That'd be surprising.
they took more creative risk. I even think going into early PS4 days when they kind of really found the stride of the PS4 mixed with what they could do with the PS3 and then what they could do with the PS4, I think you saw them probably at their absolute best. They were still wanting to have interesting projects come in, but now you're seeing Sony being a little more like, well, this is a business and we do want to stay around, so we're no longer going to publish What Remains of Edith Finch. We're going to drop that. Whereas before, that's something they would have stuck with because it's something they can be remembered by. They don't have to do that anymore, but it is a little disappointing to not see them taking the creative risk on things that may not. Because like Horizon is not a creative risk in the sense of you look at it, you know what type of game it is, and you know that it's interesting enough. I'm still glad they let it happen, but
Is it though?
I mean, the Horizon, I feel like it's obvious that it's a success. Now, when Sony does things, Puppeteer.
Well, it is
Exactly. I mean, and a good quality game speak for itself. But Puppeteer is a much smaller genre, much smaller. People weren't going to hop onto Puppeteer, but they still let it be made. You know what I mean? So that the difference between Sony's mentality behind creating first party stuff or just backing indie things that are a little more unique has changed. It's probably better for the business, but it's a little worse for the way that I revere Sony, because I think PS3 Sony really, it's funny, they had so much bravado coming into it, but as soon as they got knocked down, they really understood what they needed to do to get back up. So
Okay. Oh, you got anything?
Yeah, pretty much. I can agree on all points Brett made. Now, I will say that hold on here real quick. Okay. Had to adjust some levels there. I think that as long as Sony keeps making sure that all the customers and all the gamers and stuff that becomes their priority, and they stay the priority, and they don't lose kind of the focus like they did at the end of the PS3 era, I think that it's going to go all well. They're on pretty much the high ride right now, and they probably will be until this generation's over. And if they can keep this kind of momentum and this kind of respect, and they listening to the input of all the gamers and stuff, and making sure that as long as Jim Ryan doesn't keep going on this backwards compatibility thing again, it may not be something
Yeah, I
they
don't
agree
know
with,
what
but
that's
it may
about.
be something that's important to gamers. And if they could at least acknowledge that instead of just kind of throwing it back in their face like that happened about a month ago. So I think that they'll be doing good.
I think that personally, I feel like I need to wait to PSX to kind of make an assessment for this
are
year
any of
on
you
this question. You know what I mean? Because E3 this year was kind of Sony saying, "This is for the mainstream fans." You know what I mean? Stuff you've seen before. We're going to show you more of it to get you hyped about it.
But
Spider-Man.
that's how
God of War,
it has been for the last couple of years. Though.
what I'm saying is I think PSX is where any major bombshells they could drop is going to happen at PSX. So I think we kind of need to temper our kind of expectations, but also at the same time kind of hold back, like have reservations for the whole, like, are they turning into,
Yeah, I
bad
don't
Sony?
think.
Because I feel like there's a lot of hyperbole
Yeah.
about them turning into that quote unquote bad Sony where they don't care about, what they're putting out. If they have a poor PSX showing, then I'll start to, understand that thought process. But I think we got to wait till PSX to really
I mean,
fully assess this question, personally.
we all know they're gonna announce beta too, right? I mean, come on.
PlayStation Trinity, let's do it.
I will tell you. I mean, it's one of those weird situations where I don't think that. I think Colin said it plenty of times that if anybody's crazy enough to try and make another handheld, it's going to be Sony. And I do think that exactly.
Especially
But I
with the
will
second-
say I don't necessarily know because Sony is trying harder than ever to make sure that they are going to be a business for the foreseeable future. And with that becomes a lot of responsibility and less room to make those kind of critical failures. Now, I know that they didn't necessarily lose money on Vita, but it wasn't the runaway success they probably needed it to be at the time. Luckily, the PS4 has balanced that, so it doesn't matter. But I don't know. I don't think that we'll ever see Sony become bad Sony again because they understand every single move that put them in that position. I think that the people who are coming in and heading it now understand why it happened, and they can look at it, and they did enough of it that they can look back and say, this is a mistake we made. This is how we don't make it again.
I think that's a pretty good way to put it.
I mean,
And I think that's probably a good place to put a pin in this. We'll see. Maybe we'll get back together another time down the road. Maybe we'll do something with your guys' podcast. But in the meantime, where can people find you guys?
we are on YouTube at, actually, we have a custom link now. I keep forgetting about that. So youtube.com/
that elusive
Nartech.
custom link that we just...
Nartech Gaming. So that's our parent channel that we do everything under is Nartech Gaming. So youtube.com/ Nartech Gaming, and then we are also on podcast services, iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, a bunch of other ones. So that's where you can find us.
You guys are in the iPod and all the stuff as Triangle Square, right? Just clarifying.
What's that?
Or Nord. And podcast services, you're under which name?
Triangle Squared. Yeah, you'll find us everything
Okay,
on
just
podcast under Triangle
clarifying.
Squared. And if you want to find us on Twitter, we are at Triangle SQRD. Some bastards stole Triangle Squared, so we had to resort to the other option.
They're actually a geometry major.
Hey, real quick aside, are any of you guys planning on going to PSX this year?
Nah, I'm broke. I can't go to any of these events.
Yeah.
I mean, that sucks. I went last year, and I was in the room really close to the stage as soon as they announced The Last of Us 2. Oh man! So you want to talk about
Yeah, being in
energy the
Connecticut's
room.
rough. The only thing that comes close is PAX East, and even that gets sold out in 10 seconds. So it's kind of rough being so far away from everything.
Well, yeah, the
PAX
upside
East
is that
is
for me a little
best.
bit is that we're dead in the center, so no matter where it's at, it's pretty much equal distance because it's going to be on one of the coasts typically.
Everything's equally
Yeah,
far.
So
Actually, Jeffrey, me and you
Yeah.
got to meet up at PSX one year.
Oh,
Or not
PAX.
PSX, PAX
yeah.
East. Yeah.
PAX this year,
There's
100%.
P and X. There's a P and an X in both of them.
Yeah, literally the only one I'm missing. All right, solid. You guys,
all right.
guys did your plugs? Just plugged everything up.
Yeah,
Yep.
Miguel, Jeffrey, where can people find you?
You can find me Mr. Brawl96 anywhere. Mr. Brawl96, one word. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Brawl96 on PSN.
And Miguel?
People can find me at Twitter at Angel. Which one is it? Angel Alvarez 10 with a J. I gotta switch that.
Why'd you mix them up?
And,
Why'd you change them?
Did you make one?
Someone
like, a
took
long time
the
ago?
other one, all right? Someone took my Dark Angel 10 cents. I was like, whatever, I just did this. And PSN at Dark Angel 10 cents.
And you can find me at Twitter at Anthony Palm, and on PSN and Steam because we've been on like a PUBG rage lately.
Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
X188. Yeah, dude, I can't believe it. He got a chicken dinner earlier today. I can't believe
I
it.
cannot
Dude's a
believe.
madman.
I really wish that game would be coming to PlayStation. A little disappointed.
It is.
It will.
It is.
eventually, but it's going to be it's going to be a good ways off. I imagine. That's kind of the game looks so fun. I don't Oh, I mean, I have a gaming PC, but we do all rendering and stuff on. Typically, it's giving me a little bit of problems right now, but the game looks so fun. I just really want to play it.
It's so
Oh,
good.
it is
to
so
go, man.
fun.
Yeah, it's so.
It's so rewarding when you win.
And
Oh.
it's hilarious when things get
Well, I
chaotic.
do think it's interesting to see the idea of mag pretty much coming back around.
Yeah,
and
right.
working. So that's very interesting.
It's done first on
Right.
PlayStation.
Yeah, done first on PlayStation.
Yeah, PS3.
Game didn't work.
Yeah, you had some problems. But, I'll always remember the 64 people online for Resistance 2 for
That
long
sounded
time.
great at that time when they announced it.
Oh yeah, at the time it sounded
And
great.
you got in, and I was like, oh,
Do you guys remember what was there was the TV show that had like the game based around the TV show? What the fuck
yeah,
was it?
what was
Defiance?
that called? Yeah, Defiance.
Oh,
That was
It was
it.
Defiance, yeah.
Yeah, sci-
I never even I heard it was so bad.
yeah,
But that was kind of going for the same thing, right?
yeah. But I've heard it's terrible.
All right.
All right. Maybe we can do another podcast on all of our least favorite PlayStation games one day. But for now, this has been the PS Best Friends podcast. Again, you can catch us on podcast services worldwide. That's including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. We're working on Spotify, but it's kind of expensive to set that up, so that might be a ways off. And you can also catch us on our YouTube channel. We don't have a custom link yet, but if you go to our Facebook group, we have it pinned there, and that is facebook.com/groups/PSBestFriends. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Party Chat. This is Party Chat episode 2 featuring Triangle Squared. Another great PlayStation podcast. Go check them out and like and subscribe to them on YouTube, all that good stuff too. And we will catch you next time. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you guys for having us on.
Thank you guys. It's been fun.
doo-doo. Dun, 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 dun.